Alright, chapter 1 of William's Root, Art Valanche. Ooh. Am I gonna run into Drayson again? After today, I'm definitely ready for the quiz.
Same.
Not that I was ever concerned about a quiz in literature in the first place, but it was nice to be confident an A was in my immediate future. I grabbed my bag, shoving all my things in before zipping it up and slipping one strap over my shoulder. I'm glad we're doing one more Shakespeare play this unit.
I agree. I think we'll be starting Much Ado About Nothing next. Mrs. Roberts mentioned it when we started A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Ooh, I like that one. Though, seriously, what's the deal with romantic comedies? William smiled slightly as the two of us made our way to the door. Everyone else had already cleared out, but that was kind of normal. It felt like we were nearly always among the last to leave. Not that I really minded.
Maybe Mrs. Roberts likes them. I think they're fun.
I don't want to say I like them too, but then I can't handle sad things. I'm like, I feel like there's gonna be sad stuff. I don't want him to be like, okay, never tell her anything depressing ever again. Because he already has apologized for being depressing in the common route, so I'm like, you know, sometimes tragedy is humor from another perspective. I do too, but never underestimate the value of a good tragedy. He smiled faintly, but it was one of the usual sad smiles that I had already grown so accustomed to. Meh, just let me hug you. It faded quickly.
I don't like tragedies.
Well, I don't really like sad endings either. Speaking of sad endings, this boy has like 7 or 8 bad endings. And I'm like, dude, you're making me nervous. Much more nervous than all the other guys, because that's a lot of bad endings to end up on, so fingers crossed for me, guys. But I think tragedies help put things in perspective sometimes. I mean, no matter how annoying life gets, at least you're not being stabbed to death on the Senate floor by your best friend, know what I mean? All this last play taught me is that fairies are annoying, which, under the circumstances, isn't a lesson I needed to learn. Aw, look at that sweet smile. He laughed softly.
I suppose I can't argue with that logic.
Yay! I made him laugh! Achievement unlocked! Would have been really funny if you got a Steam achievement for that. Though William seemed pretty gloomy usually, I learned that his smiles weren't quite as rare as I'd first thought. If you ever really got him talking, he wasn't as somber as he seemed. He was still really quiet, though. A true introvert, and even if not rare, every smile definitely felt like an achievement, so I was always happy when I was able to elicit one. Oh my, a blush already? We're only like 3 or 4 minutes into chapter 1, girl. You're already blushing? Especially because he had a really sweet smile. I paused in the door, letting out a soft sigh at the sight of the jam-packed hall. Well, here goes. I shot William a smile as I stepped into the hall. But I'd not taken half a step when gravity decided to give my book bag a playful pull backwards.
Watch out!
His warning didn't come fast enough. The weight of books shifted and yanked the opening downward. Everything slid onto the floor in a slow cascade. Ah, no! My reflexes weren't nearly quick enough to catch it all. Or, you know, any of it. I scrambled to scoop up the fallen papers and books before they were trampled to bits. Good grief. William crouched beside me to help. I gave him a pained smile. I must have forgotten to zip it up. I was really certain I zipped it, though, but this happened a lot lately. I was almost getting used to it. It's almost like a ghost is doing this. Nah, can't be. Sort of. William quickly scraped together some of the fallen papers and handed them over. Thank you.
No problem.
I shoved the jumble back in the bag, snatching up my research journal and the last of the fallen pencils. Oh, hi, guys. The sound of laughter caught my attention, and I looked up to see Kara and a few others passing by.
Look at that.
Kara just smirked. Huh. Emery leaned closer to whisper something to her. I thought I heard the phrase, bad luck. Serves her right. They both snickered again as they looked my way. I rolled my eyes in a particularly dramatic way, just for their benefit. How stupid. Ooh, that intense stare. William frowned as he watched them pass.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for this.
It's not your fault. I should have zipped up my book bag.
I should go. If you're seen with me, people are just going to start talking about you too.
Newsflash, people have been talking about me since before I even sat next to you, so don't even worry about that. People see us together all the time. We kinda sit next to each other in class.
That's not the same. I mean, if they see us out here.
That didn't sit well with me. I mean, I knew it was true, kind of. In fact, William was the only member of the club that actually had people whisper about him. Even if the club itself was known to be strange, most of the more active members seemed to be well-liked or even popular. But William definitely had that reputation of being the weird kid. Even so, I shot him a smile. People already talk about me anyway, and I don't care regardless. I stood and offered him my hand, but he didn't take it.
I'll see you later.
Yep, see you in art. William stepped into the crowd, heading the opposite direction from my class. He didn't get far, though. Another boy slammed into him, sending him stumbling back into me. Whoa! This is really not our day. I caught him by the shoulders, and we both staggered back into the doorframe, which politely jammed itself into my spine. I glared after the culprit. Hey! Watch where you're going! The words slipped out before I realized I was yelling in William's ear. Sorry! He straightened, looking down and away from me as a slow blush creeped into his cheeks.
It's okay.
The boy, one I knew from some of my other classes, passed us without a word, merely sparing a quick glare my way. Probably freaking Adrian. It's not okay. You don't just run over people like that. I hope that behavior comes back to haunt you, you jerk.
Nora, it's really okay. You don't have to get mad at something like that.
He really needs to stand up for himself more. Too late. This is what you do during traffic jams. Yelling at reckless people is required. Like this. Watch. Hey! Hit and runs are illegal, you know. Oh, it was Luke. The guy heard that one because he was heading back our way with a scowl on his face. Oops. He was twice the size of both of us put together, and I really didn't want anyone to get hit. I grinned at William and grabbed his hand, dragging him out into the hall. Let's just go. Come on, after you pick a fight, the getaway is the best part.
Nora, wait!
Excuse us coming through.
Hey, did you have something to say to me?
Oh, dang, that smirk face, though. Already said it, thanks. I couldn't quite keep the grin off my face as I looked over my shoulder and picked up the pace, squeezing us both through the crowd. Luke didn't seem like he was going to give up, though.
Isn't your class the other... I said wait!
There was a rather loud crash, and all attention instantly went to something behind us. I glanced over my shoulder and... Well, I didn't see what Luke tripped over, but I did see him sprawled in the middle of the hall with his books and papers scattered everywhere. Thank you, Ghost. Ouch. Looks like he hit face first, too. I felt some pity, but not much. Well, you reap what you sow. Luke scrambled to his feet and shot a fearful look our way before swiping his stuff and scurrying off. Good grief, we weren't anywhere near him. William looked horrified.
I need to go.
What's...
Sorry.
He clutched his books closer to him and fled down the hall before I could finish. Everyone parted for him, letting him pass. It was kind of weirdly quiet for a minute before everyone started moving again. Okay, that was odd. Something on the floor caught my eye. A black folder with William's name printed neatly on the upper right corner. Did he drop that? Well, I mean, he obviously did since it was on the floor. I picked it up, but he was already gone by then. Dang it. I slid the folder in my bag, figuring I'd have to give it to him later. I really needed to get to Trig before the bell rang anyway. My little road rage incident had kinda taken up a fair bit of time. I was just trying to make him laugh, though. Not that it worked. Backfired spectacularly. Morning classes went by quickly, and I soon found myself heading down to the cafeteria for lunch. I immediately searched for William when I entered, hoping I could return the folder he'd dropped, but he wasn't in his usual spot. Which, that happens sometimes. Usually he sat by himself at an isolated table. Sometimes he didn't show up at all. Guess today was one of those days. I meandered to where I had been sitting recently, a table with Elliot, Danny, and a few of their friends. Except Danny and Elliot weren't there.
Hey, we saved you a seat.
Where's everyone else?
I don't know where Mozzie is. Danny got dragged off earlier by a couple of guys he knows, so he'll probably show up later.
Freaking Sean and Derek.
I don't know why he even talks to those two.
I lifted an eyebrow. Those two?
Just some troublemakers who've latched on to him. But you know how he is. He doesn't tell people no.
I think he just likes to help people.
I guess.
Hey, do either of you have class with William Lee? I need to give something to him, but I haven't seen him since this morning.
Nope, sorry.
Me either.
What do you need to give to him?
Oh, he dropped something in the hall earlier. I was planning to give it back to him at lunch, but he's not here, so... Hopefully he hadn't left early again. He'd missed one day of school already, and he left early the previous day. I didn't know if he was sick or not. He'd seemed fine in literature if you discounted the circles under his eyes, so he might just not be sleeping well. To be honest, it could have been anything. I'd known him for a week, and though we had a couple of classes and one extracurricular club together, it's not like I knew much about him. Besides the main things, ghosts, ESP, and all that.
What did he drop anyway?
Just a folder. It was on our way out of literature.
Oh! Saying of which, I heard you totally picked a fight in the hall earlier.
Ugh, how does this stuff get around so fast? He just laughed at that.
You got in a fight?
It was not a fight.
I heard the other guy ended up face first on the ground.
That wasn't my fault.
What on earth happened? I can't believe I haven't heard this one yet. I want to hear the story of Nora taking out some guy in the hall. Where's my popcorn?
Oh my god, it is so not an interesting story. He tripped. I had nothing to do with it.
You tripped him. Sneaky.
I wasn't anywhere near him. He just ran into William and nearly knocked him over. And you know how William is. He didn't say anything. So I did. Then the guy just tripped over his own feet and fell, thank you very much.
Oh. William was involved. That part was left out of the version I heard. But if he was there, that explains it then.
What does that mean?
You didn't know? That kind of stuff happens around William all the time. That's why people, kinda try to keep their distance.
That guy was lucky he only tripped. I mean, I've heard of way worse stuff happening to people who cross William.
Cross William? I've literally never seen William mad. Granted, I've known him for a week.
Yeah, but people who mess with him definitely end up hurt. A lot. Or they used to, until everyone figured out not to mess with him.
Is that what William had meant about people seeing strange things happen around him?
Yeah, even the teachers have learned to just keep their distance. And keep other kids away. That's why he never partners up with other people, even for group assignments.
Even the teachers keep their distance from him? Dang. I mean, that should be like several red flags that something is not right there. I'm his partner in literature.
Whoa, seriously? You should definitely, not do that.
I mean, it came down to him, Mark Lowe, or sitting alone.
Definitely would have chosen to sit alone if those were my options.
William's really nice, though. Like, super nice?
It's not niceness that's the problem. You probably don't know this because you moved away right before you moved to town, but every lab partner he had in middle school ended up in the hospital. Every person he worked with for any project.
Seriously? That could just be a rumor.
It's really not, though.
I sat by him for a couple of weeks last year. He used to always whisper to himself, and it was always super cold when he was around.
Okay, that, I had to say, probably was ghost-related. I mean, I'd suspected the temperature thing before, though I hadn't asked about it yet. That said, I've never heard him whisper to himself.
Look, I'm just saying. He's weird. And weird stuff happens around him. I begged to be moved away from him. Ugh.
He shuddered. I chewed my lip for a second. I mean, I wasn't going to deny that I'd noticed the weird little things that happen sometimes. Just like my book bag earlier. Ooh, our first journal entry. William Lee is a boy I go to school with who is apparently some kind of Esper. That is, he is a psychic. Most Espers can see the paranormal, but some have abilities that go way beyond that. He has things that follow him around, which is common with stronger Espers. Those who are low level or only have weak abilities don't typically stand out enough to attract any sort of following, but those who are stronger definitely do. There are a lot of rumors that go around about William, which is a little unusual because as much as some club members are labeled as weird, there really aren't specific rumors about any of them. Except William. I guess everyone else is able to be careful about their abilities, but for William, well, part of his ability causes him to attract outside attention. And I guess he can't stop his ghost from hanging out at school with him and being mean to people there. Fairies are a wildly diverse group of cryptics. Where they live, what they look like, their abilities, motives, and powers all vary massively. Some fairies prefer to live on their own, while others group together in courts. Some live among humans, others avoid them. Some are huge, some are tiny. Some are powerful enough to wither crops and change the weather, and some barely able to find food for themselves. The one thing all fairies have in common is that, in the right circumstances, interacting with them can be deadly. Okay, is that oh, no, not everything. Espers are ranked on a scale that measures their psychic potential. The higher the number, the more power they have. Apparently, top-ranked Espers, those 12 and above on the scale, can actually manipulate matter on an atomic level, or even manipulate and control other people. Pretty scary stuff. I mean, if that kind of thing were in the hands of the wrong person, I guess. Damn. Well, that's kind of hardcore. Where do you rank, William? Ghosts are more than just spirits of dead people that lurk around after the whole dying bit. There are a lot of spirits that fall into or slightly overlap the ghost category, but were never human to begin with. Ghosts can't really see the real world very well, but they can see spirit and psychic energy, which is why those with strong ESP stand out so clearly to them. The stronger your ability, the more you appear to them like a light, which is why strong espers gather them. It's like moths seeking a light for warmth and comfort. Huh. Interesting. Okay. And that's it. But books on the ground were a pretty far cry from me being hospitalized. Yeah, so you're not messing with him, but I'd say at least one of the ghosty ghosts is probably jealous of you. I think a lot of the rumors are probably exaggerated.
I'm really surprised that someone in the Mysteries Club is so staunchly discounting a mystery around someone.
It's because I'm in the Mysteries Club with him that I know William is harmless.
But the freak accidents in middle school really happened. Those aren't exaggeration. I mean, it's kind of scary, even if he's nice.
I will defend my boy. Till my dying day, I will defend this sweet boy. I could imagine that if William's ghosts were prone to doing things like knocking a lunch tray from my hands, or even possibly pulling on my backpack, they could do worse as well. But William hadn't said anything about his ghosts actually hurting people. I just had a hard time believing he'd let that happen without doing something about it. I really think people are overreacting to a few coincidences, that's all.
Maybe, but you weren't here. You didn't see...
See what?
Danny! Hey! I was so relieved to see him, and Elliot, who was right behind him. I hope they could help me just move us to a different topic or something. Or at least defend William. Danny pulled out a chair and had a seat. He leaned on the table and shot us an easy smile.
What are you guys talking about?
James looked away sheepishly. Okay, so they've had to defend William before.
Just, you know.
William, and how not creepy he is.
Well, definitely not creepy. He's one of the nicest guys I know.
He grinned as he flopped next to Danny. Right?
I guess he just comes across different when you know him well.
Or when you just don't believe every rumor you hear.
He really is nice. I mean, I've talked to him sometimes because of art club, though he never gets involved or anything. I wasn't trying to say anything bad about him. I just remembered hearing that stuff is all.
It just really sucks to have people say that kind of thing behind your back. I speak from experience.
I'm sorry. I didn't really mean it that way.
I know you didn't. I gave her a slight smile, though I couldn't deny being a little frustrated. Raina was a nice girl. I knew she probably didn't mean anything by it. James too, really. He was a sweetheart. Definitely a lover of gossip, though. Look, I know that people like talking about that stuff because it's mysterious and strange. And it's just fun to think about mysteries. Even manufactured ones. It's just that I know what it's like to be on the other side of it too. That's all.
I understand. I think William attracts attention because, well, there are rumors about him from middle school. And now that we're in high school, he doesn't get involved with many people. I doubt anyone outside the Mysteries Club knows anything about him.
Rumors from middle school, huh? Yep, I could definitely relate to that.
Anyway, Danny, I wanted to ask if you were coming to the Halloween party.
A less than subtle change of subject from James, thank you very much. Raina looked relieved as the conversation turned toward a Halloween party Danny was apparently not planning to attend. I was glad the topic was dropped. Clearly, William was kind of an awkward subject. No wonder he told me people would talk about me if they saw me with him. I was glad Danny and Elliot joined me in defending him, though. He didn't deserve people talking about him, especially not over mere rumors. Who even knows what the truth was behind those stories? No matter what the rumors were, William would never do anything to hurt anyone. And if he would, the others wouldn't be so quick to jump to his defense. Everyone vanished right before I blinked my eyes. Beyond lunch, my course load was pretty light, and the first class I had was art. It was also the only other class I had with William, which made it an opportunity to give his folder back. When I reached the class on the 3rd floor, I immediately spotted his familiar figure sitting at the back in his usual seat. It looked like he was already doing warm-up sketches. My goodness, you two have so much in common. I was just glad that he hadn't gone home early. William! Ignoring the look of surprise on his face when he looked up, I headed over to him. There were other students looking my way, but I ignored them, too. None of their dang business if I'm talking to him or not.
Hello.
Hey! I didn't see you at lunch earlier today. He looked around anxiously as I approached, eyes darting around before he lowered his gaze to his sketchbook. He rolled his pencil between his fingers, then looked up at me again, his eyes barely visible beneath his dark fringe. She's obsessed with the fringe hair. It's like gazing at me between the fringe. His fringe fell into his eyes, his dark brown eyes.
What do you need?
Just to give you this. I held up the black folder.
That's...
You dropped it this morning, but I wasn't able to catch up with you in the hall. You might find this hard to believe, but the halls get pretty crowded, and it's somewhat harder for vertically challenged sorts to navigate. His lips curved up just slightly at that. Anyway, you weren't at lunch, so I've been waiting all day to give it back. He took the folder and placed it carefully in his backpack.
Thank you.
No problem. I studied his face, biting my lip. As I thought. He still looked really tired. There were definitely circles under his eyes. That wasn't uncommon, but it felt like they were worse than usual. I wasn't sure if I should ask about it, though. William and I never talked outside of literature. Well, other than a few passing words if we saw each other in the club room. It wasn't like we knew each other well or anything, but he'd reached out to me that day after I encountered that Spriggan, and even now it meant a lot that he cared enough to do that. I just didn't know how to ask if things were okay. I didn't know if it was rude or presumptuous to ask. William was still looking up at me expectantly, and I figured he probably knew what I was going to ask before I asked it. I don't want to pry. Are you okay? Surprisingly, he actually didn't seem to expect that question, at least judging from the look on his face.
I'm okay.
It's just that you seemed kind of quiet in class today. I was a little worried.
There's no need to worry about me.
Of course he'd say that. But still. There's no way I believe that you're okay. Come on, we're friends, right? Maybe not, but I can't help it. I always worry about my friends, especially if they seem sad or upset. Which you do.
Your friends?
Yes, that does include you. You don't have to seem that surprised by it.
He's like, a friend?
I mean, I didn't know him extremely well. At the very least, we were in the same club, and we're both members of the paranormal community. And we both liked Shakespeare. And art. I had his number in my phone. That had to mean something! Maybe I was just imagining a connection there because I was coming out of a situation where I'd felt isolated too.
You're a really kind person, Nora.
That's not a descriptor people usually aim at me. Aw. In any case, I didn't think it was kindness per se. I just didn't want to leave him alone. Even if I couldn't make the things attached to him go away. It bothered me that he looked so sad and alone all the time, that was all. I mean, how long did you have to know someone to care? Not that long, in my opinion. I don't think I'm all that kind. I mean, Allie just says I'm nosy.
I don't think that's true.
I crouched next to his desk and rested my arms on it. You can't tell me not to worry, okay? I want to make sure you're all right. I can't not worry when you miss school or look tired, even if it is just being nosy. Don't. He flushed and looked away as I smiled up at him.
I am. Okay, I mean. I am okay. Are you okay too?
Me? Didn't really expect him to initiate a question. Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, you know, tired. Still sort of confused by, well, you know, all the things. But I'm... A canister of paintbrushes on the supply table just behind William's desk overturned, cutting me off. We both watched the brushes cascade to the floor and go rolling every which way. Is it possible to strangle a ghost? And there went one of the little things that made others dismiss him as weird, because no one else was back there. The canister just fell on its own. Or that's what it looks like to us, anyway. Don't worry, I'll get it. I left his desk and stepped around to the table, crouching to pick up the scattered brushes. I wonder why this kind of thing never happens in literature. I mean, I literally sat next to him for the better part of an hour, and the only time this stuff seemed to happen was when we were leaving. Like, this morning with my book bag. Ghost that's not a morning person? If this stuff was really caused by ghosts that followed him around, it seemed like they only got annoyed if he talked to me about something other than schoolwork. Jealous brats. That just made them seem more like pets that wanted their owner's attention than bullies out to hurt people. I set the canister back up and dropped the brushes back in, just one by one. If they're just jealous, maybe there's a way to make them, I don't know, get used to me. Then again, they weren't dogs. You probably couldn't just socialize them into being nice. Why are ghosts all about tormenting the living anyway? I turned to get the brushes behind me and nearly jumped out of my skin when I saw William right there. I didn't hear you come over here.
Sorry. I wanted to help.
Thanks. You don't have to, though. There aren't that many.
No. You shouldn't have to. Look out!
And the music stopped. I flinched and looked up, startled to see a gallon container of paint solvent tipping toward me. Ayah! Okay, that's dangerous. Probably should have dodged, but my brain hadn't quite caught up to the fact that I was about to get an unwanted shower of orangey solvent all over my leather jacket. But that's not quite what happened. The can suddenly jerked awkwardly to the right just before turning on its side. Telekinetic powers? The tidal wave of solvent landed about a foot from where I was crouching instead. The can struck a stack of watercolor pans that teetered precariously for a few painful seconds before they went spilling everywhere. Several of those crashed into a stand of markers that fell off the table, sending its contents scattering on the floor. My goodness, talk about a domino effect. The force of the markers falling caused several canvases stacked to one side to slide forward as well. Oh, come on now. I guess that's the art avalanche. It was like watching a rainbowy avalanche of art supplies, and I was just watching it, wondering why the solvent can didn't have a lid on it, as I listened to the soft glug, glug, glug of the orange solvent slowly pouring out onto the drop cloth. It was the overpowering smell of oranges that finally snapped me out of it. Oh, shoot! I jumped up and grabbed the can, righting it quickly. But most of the damage had been done by that point. There was a puddle of solvent under the table, Watercolor pans everywhere, oozing rainbow goop into the solvent. Markers everywhere, and a messy pile of canvases that I really needed to pick up before the rainbow goop got to them. Well then.
Wow.
I tense at the sound of the teacher's voice. Uh-oh.
What on earth?
Not only was Miss Terrell standing right behind us with a look of displeasure on her face, but everyone else in class was staring as well. Miss Terrell, I'm so sorry. The paintbrushes fell and, well... I gestured helplessly to the mess. Miss Terrell was pretty cool usually. But really, just about anyone would be frustrated by the artpocalypse at the back of the class. She just sighed softly. William stood slowly as well, eyes glued to the ground.
It was my fault. I'll clean it up.
Very well, William. You know where everything is.
Wait, what? She was just going to accept that? It wasn't even his fault, though. The way that can had jerked to the right like that was definitely not natural. I mean, I did understand that he couldn't exactly blame the mess on a ghost, which was almost definitely the culprit. And since they were attached to him, maybe he felt responsible. But he couldn't take the blame like that. Man, it's so weird having it be so deadly quiet. I don't think the top one is a good one. I don't like the second one either because that's like acknowledging it is partially his, like it is his fault. So I'm like, oh, I'll just help him clean it up. This boy needs someone to stand up for him. And for him to stop like, just being everybody else's punching bag, basically. Actually, it was my fault. William and Miss Terrell both looked surprised at that declaration. I just shot William a determined smile. Thanks for covering for me, but it's okay. I looked at the teacher again and took a deep breath. The canister of brushes fell over on its own while I was talking to William at his desk. I came to pick the brushes up, and I guess I knocked the table leg with my elbow or something. That sent the watercolor pans everywhere, and, well, it was kind of an unstoppable artvalanche after that. Though, to be fair, someone left the cap off the solvent, which didn't help.
Artvalanche.
Yeah, very rainbowy.
While I appreciate your creative description, Nora...
I'll get it cleaned up right away. And I'm really sorry.
Just be quick about it, please.
Will do.
Everyone else to your seats.
As the class returned to their desks, Miss Terrell started outlining the day's assignment from the front of the class. William and I were left alone at the back of the room. Thankfully, Andy's blushing.
What are you doing? That wasn't your...
I cut him off before he could finish that. It was my fault. Even if I assumed his entourage was to blame, and I was certain they were, if they were being bratty because of me daring to have a conversation with him, then it was my fault. End of story. I wasn't letting him take the blame for some bratty ghost gang being jealous twits. Dang, girl. I like that. Jealous twits.
But I...
Nope.
I'll clean...
I'll clean. You should go to your desk. I got this. Don't worry, boo. He hesitated, clearly not willing to leave me to it. I shot him a bright smile as I went to raid the paper towel supply in the corner cabinet.
William, take your seat and get started on the assignment, please.
Ha-ha! Reinforcements! I could only imagine that William was far too used to cleaning up after his companions. I wasn't going to let it happen this time. That's right. He reluctantly retreated back to his desk as I returned with a large roll of paper towels to clean the solvent. I was so grateful Miss Terrell had the nice absorbent kind and not those scratchy brown things they had in the bathrooms. Yes, I feel you there. I carefully sopped up all the solvent and goopy watercolors. Good thing she uses the non-toxic stuff. Still, I had a feeling my hands were going to smell like orange oil for the rest of the day. And, non-toxic or not, it would have been terrible if it landed on me. I dumped the paper towels in a wastebasket and restacked the canvases. What I didn't get was... if his ghost did the whole thing to bully me because I was talking to him, why had the solvent shifted to the side like that? Yeah, so it's either one of two things, in my mind. Either one of the ghosts was jealous, knocked it towards her, and another ghost was not having any of it and saved her. Or, conversely, William has telekinetic powers and can move things with his mind. It would have definitely given me a good dousing if it hadn't moved. Which I assume that's what they'd been planning. Maybe they had an attack of conscience at the last minute? Also a possibility. Do ghosts have consciences? Then again, who could guess why spirits would do anything at all? Definitely not me. I gathered up all the scattered watercolor pans and chased down the markers, amazed at how far those stupid things rolled. I probably looked like a moron crawling all over the class to track them down. By the time I got everything picked up and stacked neatly again, it was a good 15 minutes into class. Then Miss Terrell had me take out the garbage bag full of solvent-soaked paper towels. Not that I blamed her. The orange smell was giving me a headache, too. Class was half over by the time I was done. I barely managed to get started on the art assignment before the bell rang.